All speech is a confession of weakness. The silent man confesses nothing. Nietzsche reimagined you felt it. That hollow ache after talking to her when you walk away diminished. Not your money, not your time, but your power. It slipped away in the space between your eager words and her quiet gaze. She didn't steal it, you gave it. Smiling, explaining, chasing her approval, you handed her the leash to your soul. Her silence weighed you, measured you, and left with something you didn't even know you lost. Why does her stillness cut like a blade? Why do your words crafted to charm, to connect, only make you smaller? This isn't about tricks or games. It's about a truth carved in stone. Women aren't outwitted by what you say. They're outwitted by what you don't. By the fire in your stillness. By the mirror of your refusal to bend. Society lied to you. It told you to perform, speak louder, dress sharper, earn more, say the right thing. But no one told you the most dangerous weapon a man can wield is his silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of a king watching chaos unfold without blinking. A man who needs no applause, no validation, because he's burned the craving for it in the forge of his soul. This is the war within you. The boy who begs to be liked versus the man who chooses to be free. The illusion of love versus the truth of sovereignty. Every time you chase her approval, you betray yourself. Every time you explain your worth, you diminish it. But there's another path. A path where you stop orbiting her gravity and become your own center. Where you trade words for presence, and in that presence, you become a riddle she cannot solve. Here on Philosoul, we don't flinch from what hurts. We stare into the wound, abandonment, betrayal, the ache of being unseen, and we find what hides behind it, power. The power to choose awareness over illusion, stillness over noise. Will you keep performing for her gaze, or will you forge a silence so unshakable it changes the game? Subscribe to Philosoul not for hype, but for the voice you've silenced. Too long your own. You've been taught that dominance begins with speech, that confidence is loud charm, a well-timed line. But Nietzsche saw through the lie. The voice of beauty speaks softly. It creeps only into the most awakened souls. If beauty whispers, why are you shouting? If power is a shadow, why are you chasing light? She's not listening to your words. She's watching what you tolerate, how quickly you chase, how much of yourself you surrender for a scrap of her smile. And all of it is spoken without a sound. Her silence isn't weakness. It's leverage. A mirror reflecting your neediness back at you. Have you ever mistaken obedience for intimacy? Did she change, or did you just stop seeing her calculation? Nature carved this truth long before you were born. Women are not fragile. They are strategists, fluid and intuitive, reigning through absence, energy, impression. Where men build with muscle and law, women rule with the unspoken. You try to overpower her with words like swinging a hammer at the ocean. And when her tide pulls back, you're left wondering why your foundations crumble. To outsmart her, you must first outgrow the boy inside you. The one who panics when she goes quiet. The one who texts when she ignores, argues to prove his worth, craves her warmth like a child lost in the dark. That boy is her prey. He mistakes her control for love, her tests for affection. The wound is deep. It's the pain of abandonment, the betrayal of believing love comes from being good enough. You've been told to be patient, kind, understanding. But Nietzsche knew better. Kindness rooted in fear is cowardice. Patience that avoids loss is prolonged slavery. The boy in you begs to be seen. The man in you learns to walk away. Have you ever felt the sting of her silence and called it rejection? What if it was a mirror showing you the parts of yourself you haven't faced? Here's where the revolution begins. Not in what you say, but in what you refuse to. Silence isn't absence, it's presence forged in fire. When you stop reacting to her provocations, her emotional traps, something shifts. She expects you to fold, to chase, to explain. Most men do. They confirm her power by begging for her attention. But the man who watches, who lets the tension burn without blinking, becomes unknowable. As Jung wrote, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Your silence is that refusal to react. It's the forge where her chaos burns away, leaving only your truth. She's used to being the mirror reflecting men's insecurities. But when you become the mirror, calm, unyielding, she sees herself clearly. Her insecurities, her projections, her fears. That's the most unsettling thing she can face. Not because you're cruel, but because you're free. Imagine the strength it takes to hear her insult and say nothing, to watch her walk away and stay still, to feel the pull of her gravity and not orbit. That silence is your sovereignty. It's the moment you stop being her subject and become your own world. Here's the brutal truth: the moment you stop needing her is the moment she begins needing you. Not because you played a game, but because you transcended it. Detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's the fire that burns away your craving for validation, leaving only the man you were meant to be. Love versus control, illusion versus truth, the stage of her emotions versus the forge of your will. You've spent years performing on her stage, dancing to her rhythm. But the man who steps off, who chooses the forge, becomes a force she cannot manipulate. She'll resist at first. She'll call you arrogant, distant, emotionally unavailable. But those aren't insults, they're confessions. Her usual weapons, silence, withdrawal, provocation, no longer work. Your stillness is a mirror she can't shatter. And soon she starts to speak, not to test, but to understand. Because the man who doesn't need her attention becomes the only one whose attention she craves. When was the last time you felt the urge to explain yourself to her? What if that urge was the chain keeping you from freedom? Nietzsche's Übermensch isn't a myth, it's a rebirth. A death to the man who begged for affection, who shrank himself to keep the peace. The loudest men aren't powerful, they're terrified. Terrified of being forgotten, of being nothing without her gaze. But the man who sits silent, unmoved, disconnected from the need to impress, he's the one she notices. Not because he tried, but because he didn't. Let her exhaust herself trying to break your stillness. Let her push, provoke, pretend. Don't reward chaos with explanation. Don't answer disrespect with justification. Let her collapse into the space your silence creates. And when she speaks, don't explain. Speak one truth, one decision, and walk. That's the will to power, not in controlling her, but in mastering yourself. Women aren't the enemy. They're the forge that tests your soul. They'll challenge you in ways nothing else can. Most men respond by becoming boys, reactive, emotional, hungry. But the man who sees the pattern, who refuses to dance to her rhythm, steps out of the illusion. He doesn't orbit her. He becomes a world she must earn her place in. Your silence must come from peace, not anxiety. If it's a tactic, she'll see through it. If it's born of fear, she'll feel it. But if it's forged in clarity, in the unshakable truth that you don't bend for approval, it changes everything. She's no longer managing your emotions, she's facing her own. Chains versus sovereignty. Darkness versus fire. The myth of her love versus the memory of your strength. You've carried the chains of her approval too long. Break them in the forge of your silence. Let the fire of your will burn away the boy who needed her to feel alive. This is the war within. Can you stay still when every part of you screams to react? Can you walk away, not to win her back, but to affirm your value with or without her? This is the death of the old self, the one who explained, who craved, who lost himself in her storm. You didn't lose her. You lost the man you became to keep her. The one who spoke to be heard, who chased to be seen, who explained to be loved. But in the forge of silence, you found him again. The man who doesn't need her approval to stand tall. The man whose stillness is a fire that burns away illusion. The truth you've been avoiding is simple. Your power was never hers to take. It was yours to give away. Every time you reacted, you handed her the chains. Every time you begged, you built her stage. But the man who chooses silence, who refuses to perform, becomes a mirror she cannot manipulate, a force she cannot decode. This is the masculine arc, from seeking validation to forging internal gravity, from orbiting her emotions to becoming your own center. Nietzsche's Übermensch isn't a conqueror of others, he's a conqueror of himself. And when he chooses a woman, it's not out of need, but out of freedom. That choice born of silence is the most seductive force in the world. Have you walked this fire? Tell us below so no man feels like he's breaking alone. Make your silence sacred. Let it be the forge where your dignity is hammered into steel. When she tests you, let her. When she pulls you into chaos, watch her. When she tries to break your calm smile and vanish, not to punish, but to remind her you're no longer the man who explains himself to be loved. You're the man who walks away to be free. If this truth shook something awake in you, share it, not for the algorithm, but for the soul that's still asleep. This is Philosoul, where the illusion ends and something ancient begins.
Thank you for watching. Walk your path with quiet strength.